Alright, fifth and sixth period. So today we are doing literal equations, which is a combination of what you did yesterday. You should have already looked over on the board and checked your homework. It's not for a grade. All you're doing is checking to see if you fully understand how to solve equations. If you can't solve for a variable, then ask somebody in the class to help you. Alright, today we're looking at the handout you should have picked up off the table, and we're going over a few problems, and then the rest of them are for homework. So guys, let's look at number 1. Everybody see number 1? I'm going to rewrite it just in case you can't see it. 2x plus 3y equals 9. Everybody got that? Okay, so we're solving for a variable. These are just a little bit more complex problems. Not really too complex, but you'll see when we get to the bottom, they're all equations that you'll use sometime throughout your school life. Lauren, take that phone out your head. This first one says to solve for y. Everybody see solve for y. The reason I would say this is one of the most important equations you're going to solve is because when we get into functions with algebra, everything we're going to be solving is going to be in y equals mx plus b form. So solving for y is something you're going to see a lot. So here, later on you'll learn this is in standard form. And so we're going to isolate y. So when we isolate y, what are we going to do, guys? Subtract 2x on both sides. That cancels. So we're left with 3y equals 9 minus 2x. And I'm not going to write it like that. I'm going to go ahead and put it in mx plus b form. So I'm going to put, oh no, this is not the time for my pen to be acting up. I'm going to put the minus 2x in the front, and then I put the plus 9 in the back. Because when we get deeper into solving algebra equations, and my pen is acting up, so it just looks a little funny. So I put negative 2x in the front and the plus 9 in the back. Everybody got it? Because when we get into solving equations, we get y by itself, it has to be an mx plus b form. So the x has to go first in the number. And y'all probably saw some of this last year, mx plus b, a little bit. So here, trying to get y by itself, is it completely by itself? No. What do we have to do? So we're going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, my pen's acting better. That cancels out. And so our answer for number 1 is y equals negative 2x plus 9 over 3. And as we get later on, deeper into it, we'll actually separate them. Have the 2 over 3 and then the 9 over 3 separate. But for now, we're just going to practice learn how to isolate the variable. Yes?
Is it okay if it's 9 minus 2x?
Just explain that I moved it around. Only ask questions if it's important. Look at number 4. That's the next one we're going to do together. We have ax plus by equals c. Here, trying to get y by itself again. It's just number 4 right here, guys. Number 4. Trying to get y by itself, it says solve for y. So what are we going to do to both sides? Move the ax to the other side. So then we have by equals negative ax plus c. If you put c minus ax, it's the same thing. The order doesn't matter as long as one's a positive, one's a negative, the correct one. And then we divide both sides by what? B. And so our answer for number 4 is y equals
C minus ax.
Negative a over b. Please don't talk because y'all are just yelling out random stuff. Negative ax plus c all over b. If you're not doing what I'm doing, don't yell out your answer if it's not in the same order. I don't want to confuse anybody. Any questions? Everybody got it? Okay, now we're going to go to part 2. If you read through here, you don't really have to follow what it's saying. We're not going to explain everything. We're just solving for a variable, practicing just isolating a variable. So these are real formulas that you might use in science or math or whatever. The one we're going to look at first is number 6. And I'm going to use a blank screen because you really can't write that well on here. Or you can write in your compositions or on the back if you choose. But number 6 says solve t equals p plus PRT for p. T is the total money. P, R, and T are defined in number 5. You go to number 5, you see it's just talking about principal, rate, interest, and all that. Everybody got it? So, here it wants us to isolate the P's. What do you notice from the very beginning when isolating the P's? There are 2 P's. Remember we talked about that yesterday with 2 P's? We're kind of going to go backwards and see what was the numbers that were distributed, right? They both have a P in common, so remember we're going to pull a P outside of the parentheses, because obviously P was distributed, that's why it's in 2 terms. And what's left over here? Is anything left over? No, but we can't leave it blank. Something has to go there, so we're just going to put 1, yes. And then over here, what's left over?
RT.
RT. So obviously if you go back, P times 1, that's how we got P. P times RT, that's how we got PRT. And we're going to bring everything down, equals T. And now that P is, there's only 1 P in the problem, can we isolate the P?
Yes.
How is P bonded to the parentheses? Multiplication, so we can separate it by division. So we're going to divide both sides by 1 plus RT, divide by 1 plus RT, that cancels, and so now our answer is P equals T divided by 1 plus RT. I'll pull that down so you can see a little better. There's the answer. I asked you not to talk in the beginning and I explained it. If you don't know, then be quiet. Any questions? Everybody got it?
Yes.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pause. Try 12 on your own. Trying 12 on your own. Oh, with 12, guys, don't ignore the exponent. Don't worry about the exponent. Just leave it on there as a part of the variable. It moves with the parentheses. Everybody got it? Don't worry about trying to get rid of the exponent. That's not what we're learning. And you should be done by now.
Yeah.
Y'all done? We're solving for P, so what should you have done?
Divide by 1 plus RT to the power of.
That's all you should have done. Divided both sides by 1 plus R to T power. How many of y'all chose to distribute the P into the parentheses first?
No.
Anybody? Especially when you do 11 for homework, if you notice it's a D on the outside, you should not distribute, because why are we going to distribute when we want to keep it by itself? So all you have to do was just divide, and so your answer ended up being P equals T over 1 plus R to the T power. You do not have to distribute the P into the parentheses. You don't have to worry about the exponent, because the whole point is to just isolate the variable. Get the P by itself. Do not distribute the D in number 11. You just getting it by itself. So leave it the way it is, divide it apart. Got it? And the last one we're going to do is on the back, number 16. Number 16. When you first look at it, it looks difficult. It looks like a lot's going on. Everybody see it? But it's not. It's telling you solve equals V to the V sub F minus V sub O over T sub F minus T sub O for TF. Where A is acceleration, the other one's final velocity, final time, initial time. All it is just identifying the different times of velocity, something you probably use in science or physics or something like that. So all we're doing is getting T sub F by itself. I'm going to rewrite the equation. Now, can we just jump straight into the problem and just pull T sub F out of there?
No.
Remember, you still have to do your same steps like solving an equation, and that would be to get rid of what first? fractions. And how do we eliminate fractions? Multiply by the common denominator. So here we're going to multiply both sides by t sub f minus t sub o. I'm going to put this in parentheses over here because it's two terms. We're going to multiply this side by t sub f minus t sub o so that it can cancel out. You still get rid of fractions the same way you would by multiplying both sides by the common denominator. Everybody got it?
Yes.
Even though it's two terms that look weird, same process. So we multiply both sides by the common denominator. Everybody following?
Yes.
Here it cancel so that we can get that t sub f out of the denominator so we can solve. Now over here, be careful because you have to multiply a by both of those terms, right? And then it's equal to VF minus VO. Everybody got that? And so now we're trying to get TF by itself, right? But we have to, well, yeah. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna distribute. Because we can move this A on over here by doing what to both sides?
Division.
Divide it apart. We can divide both sides by A. And so now we're left with TF minus TO equals V sub F minus, my pen's acting up, sorry, V sub O all over A. And then now to get TF by itself, all we need to do is what? Add TO to both sides. And there's the answer. Probably can't read it. It's a little raggedy. But the answer is T sub F equals, and you should have VF minus VO all divided by A, and then on the outside plus TO. Now, of course, there are other ways we can do this. You could have distributed if you want to, and then added the A over here, and then divided by A. That's okay. There are multiple ways to solve a problem, but this is just the easiest relative. Any questions with isolating a variable? Your assignment is to do all the rest of them, all the rest of the problems. Go ahead and get started.